That's should be important not just to the Jewish community,
Right.
but should be important to every human being and citizen of the world. And that is the issue of anti-Semitism and what is happening around the country and the world in our political debates. We're here because as a Jew, but as a citizen, I am concerned whenever any organization makes a demand that you must follow what I would call a manifesto or an agenda in order to get somebody's support. The Democratic Socialists of America have decided that if any elected official that's running for office wishes their support, they have to demonstrate a number of things. Local issues are fine. Social issues are fine. But when they go to the point of saying that you must denounce taking a trip to the state of Israel, and as well as support the boycott and divestiture and sanction movement, that is unacceptable. To say that I refuse to have an endorsement unless you do what I say, you won't get my money, you won't get our support, it's not just anti-American. It strikes me as something that is beyond the pale of being involved in politics when you're forced to make a decision that hurts a community and hurts one state in the world, the state of Israel. So today I am calling upon every elected official, from the mayor to the controller's race, to any local race, borough presidents, as well as the city council race. I want a pledge from any elected official to denounce having to sign that kind of a statement and to publicly denounce that I support the BDS movement, of which the DSA makes it a priority to get their support. And we do that today on a day that is very prophetic. This is the Holocaust Remembrance Day. It's amazing that we have to say it again. As a Jew, we take it seriously. If you want our vote, if you want our money, if you want our support in any way for programs, you can't have a political operation like the DSA dictating how an elected official should act before and certainly when they get into office. Now, as a former member of the JCRC board, Rabbi Michael Miller was going to be here, but he's stuck in New Jersey, and I have a statement from him that I'd like one of the board members to read. Mr. Coleman?
Good morning, and we're here on a very prophetic day, the day that Auschwitz-Birkenau was liberated, the final destiny of many unfortunate Jews. On behalf of the JCRC, which I am a board member, Michael Miller, the CEO, asked me to read the following. Appallingly, it's tellingly apparent that all too many council candidates submitted the DSA questionnaires without fully comprehending the implications of their answers. Shame on the New York City DSA for asking future city council members to pledge to forego an opportunity to learn more firsthand about the world's most difficult and complicated conflicts. Shame on the New York City DSA for endorsing BDS, a movement that fights for Palestinian self-determination while simultaneously working to negate Jewish self-determination, which fits the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism as adopted by the Obama administration's State Department. Shame on those candidates who filled out the questionnaire seeking the DSA endorsement. When COVID-19 is behind us, we look forward to welcoming future members of the New York City Council and other legislative bodies on the JCRC New York missions to Israel.
Thank you. Senator Toby Stavisky.
Thank you, Cynthia and Michael, for putting this meeting together. It's so unfortunate that it's necessary, but as Shivy read, Auschwitz, how did anybody else feel, a non-Jew, looking at the photographs of the Capitol riots and seeing somebody wear that Camp Auschwitz shirt? How disgraceful, how sad. How sad is it that a member of a candidate for the city council 5 years ago posted anti-Semitic comments? It's been said that words matter. So do tweets. Tweets matter, and this has got to stop. Thank you.
We're in Assemblyman Dan Rosenthal's district, so I like Assemblyman Rosenthal.
We stand here today on the anniversary of the 76th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. I'm going to paraphrase here. Well, last year, the Auschwitz Museum, they put out a statement saying the Holocaust did not begin with the gas chambers. It happened after years of normalizing hatred and anti-Semitism. We must be careful to condone all forms of hate. If you tweet out dog whistles and anti-Semitic tropes consistently, not a one-off, you must be held accountable and you must be condemned. And even if it is not politically convenient to do so. I have been nauseated the past week to see folks twist themselves into pretzels trying to defend this. First, oh, it was old. Another excuse was they didn't know the history, or they just replied but didn't retweet it. I'm going to ask you, what does a baby with a bullet hole and a Jewish star on it mean to you? What does it mean when you have a Wall Street Bull, a photo of a Wall Street Bull protected by the NYPD, and make a comment about the Israelites? What does that mean to you? There is no excuse for that kind of dog whistles and tropes, and we must stand united to condemn this. We must make sure that this type of language and behavior does not become normalized in our political system. So I'm happy to see so many people here today to stand united in condemning this kind of language.
Assemblyman David Weber.
Thank you, Michael, and the Queens Jewish Community Council for bringing us all together today on this momentous day when the DSA questionnaire first came out this past summer. I immediately condemned it online. There's no question that the BDS movement and boycotting Israel is clearly anti-Semitic. To single out the only democracy in the Middle East, surrounded by undemocratic countries where there are human rights violations on a regular basis, and to single out the only democracy is clearly, and the only Jewish state is clearly anti-Semitic, and there's no way around it. As an assembly member and also a candidate for New York City Controller, I can't condemn the DSA and the questionnaire and so many other BDS supporters for really participating in an anti-Semitic movement. So I know it's easy to play with words and say it's not anti-Semitic. I was very proud to be on the last JCR mission before the pandemic, the last week in February last year. And as all JCR missions, they really give you background and also we heard from many different sides, but there's no question that that questionnaire and the BDS movement is anti-Semitic, and we can't condemn it in enough words, and certainly on this historic day. Thank you.
Councilman Barry Grudenski.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you to everybody who is here today, and thank you to the media as well. I represent the district immediately east of here on the other side of 188th Street. It is one of the most diverse places on the face of the earth. And my message to those people who promulgated this questionnaire, this isn't just about the Jewish community. If you look behind me, you will see the incredible diversity that is Queens. I represent a community that has Jews and Christians and Sikhs and Muslims and Jains and Buddhists, and people from all over the world have come to live here in Queens County. So when you seek to say, when you do say that you shouldn't go to Israel, or do you support BDS, this isn't just about the Jewish community. This is about trying to divide the people of Queens and the people of New York City for your own narrow self-political interest. And it has to stop now. It has to stop now. We live together, we work together, we study together, we fall in love with each other. That all happens here in Queens. There are those who hate and seek to divide us. My message today on Holocaust Remembrance Day, remembering my ancestors who I never got to meet because they were all murdered by the Nazis, Yamak Shemo, may their names be obliterated. My message today is that we have to come together as a community, and we have to seek out people for political office who are not going to divide us, but are going to bring us together. It's very, very easy to separate people. It's not so easy to bring people together. And that's what we have to do. So that's my message, and I'm proud to stand with my colleagues in government, the other people of goodwill who are here today, to promulgate a message that love and wonderfulness will bring us together, and hate will never divide us. Thank you all.
Representing Congresswoman Grace Meng is Rabbi Pollack.
Thank you very much, Michael and Cynthia, for putting this get together here. It's very important to speak out against what's going on, not just locally, but certainly nationally and around the world. Hate in all its forms is despicable, horrible, condemned, and unfortunately our Congresswoman could not physically be here today, but she felt it was expedient and important to provide a message that she wanted to share with everyone. And let me read it for everyone. Today and every day, I stand shoulder to shoulder with the Jewish community in fighting the scourge of anti-Semitism. We must do everything possible to eradicate hate whenever and wherever it occurs, in any form that it takes. There is no place for anti-Semitism and intolerance anywhere in our society, particularly in Queens, where we embrace diversity and proudly welcome people of all backgrounds to our great borough, no matter their race, religion, or ethnicity. Whether it's BDS or other forms of prejudice and bigotry, we must do all we can to combat it, and all people throughout our borough and city must join us in denouncing it. Now is the time for unity and not division. And again, united we stand, divided we fall. Thank you.
I'd like to have Rabbi Yoel Schoenfeld speak. Rabbi?
Thank you, Michael, and candidates and everybody that's state senator and everybody that's assemblywoman and everybody that's gathered here today. The message is really quite brief. We're living in an upside-down world where, in the name of diversity, all kinds of deviances and all kind of values that we held dear are now turned upside down. And in the name of diversity, diversity seems to include even the right to be overly critical of Israel, unfairly critical of Israel, and unfairly critical of a lot of what the Jewish people do and stand for, and it's all done in the name of diversity. And that's why we have to be extremely vigilant. We have to see how anti-Semitism, it's not necessarily anti-Semitism of people wearing Nazi bands on their arm. Sometimes the anti-Semitism comes to both. The name of equality for everybody else, but equality seems to leave out the Jewish people. That's why this vote right now, this election right now, for the candidate for city council is that important, because those are the forces that we are up against. So I thank everybody for participating, and I thank everybody for being here, giving us the encouragement that we need to feel that we have friends behind us in combating anti-Semitism, whether it's from the right or from the left, or whatever, however it expresses itself. We have to be vigilant, and I thank everybody here.
Thank you, Rabbi. So the Queens Jewish Community Council is nonpartisan. It represents everybody under our umbrella here in Queens. And I asked anyone that was running for office in this particular district if they wanted to come. We're not going to deny them to come and make a statement. But I'm going to say this. This is not a kumbaya moment. This is a very serious statement that we're making about something that's important to our community. So I'm hoping and I'm asking that if you're running for office, I'd like to hear a statement that says you will take an invitation to Israel when you're a city council member, and you'll take an invitation to Ireland or Italy or any place. Don't just say everywhere but Israel is okay. And I'm hoping that the people that I'm going to ask to come and say something very short is that you will say and pledge that you will not sign on to the pledge of the DSA and support their mission of boycotting Israel. So I'd like to call the candidates as they came here to come up, and please make it short. It's not a background speech, just a statement, because the focus of today is singular. So I'm sorry.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Deepti Sharma, and as someone who has actually been to Israel twice, has also visited Auschwitz, I do not stand for any anti-Semitic rhetoric. I chose to represent every single community in this district and have spent time with every single community. I opposed the BDS movement and did not apply for the DSA endorsement specifically for that reason. There is no place for hate here in District 24, and I am committed to fighting for a more tolerant world. Today, we remember the lessons of the Holocaust, which is always to fight against injustice and seek peace. Our communities need healing and unity, not more hate. As our potential future city council member, I will strive to have every community in my district represented and heard. I welcome the leaders of the Jewish community for more dialogue and look forward to working as a united district. Thank you.
Jim Gennaro.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, everyone, who brought us together. Thank you, honored Rabbanim, my fellow candidate Deepti, all of my colleagues in government. Thank you, everyone, for being here on this very auspicious day. I'm sorry that my good friend Michael Miller could not be here today. Michael Miller, along with David Weprin and many of us, traveled to Israel in 2002 in the midst of the Intifada. This was a most memorable, most dangerous, but most necessary trip to show solidarity with Israel in its hour of crisis. So here we are today. We have been here before. We will be here again, decrying the mainstreaming of anti-Semitism of the Democratic Socialists of America, a growing movement that, in partnership with BDS, almost took over my party. You want me to take the mask down? Are they okay with that? Okay, is that all right? Take it down. Almost took over my party, the Democratic Party, in the 2020 presidential election. It did not prevail but it left its evil footprint. Anti-Semitic tropes echo through the halls of Congress unchallenged. The mainstreaming of the false moral equivalency between the democratic and all-inclusive state of Israel and the murderous leadership of the Palestinian Authority and the alphabet soup of terror organizations associated with it that have but one common purpose: the destruction of the state of Israel and the murder of all its residents. Despite all our good efforts, this is where we are in 2021. The power and influence of the DSA movement in New York City politics grows by the day. Hundreds of candidates for city office, from mayor to city council, will scurry to fill out this questionnaire, in which candidates will be asked if they will pledge not to visit Israel and if they support the anti-Semitic BDS movement, and if not, why not? Since when did hatred of Jews and hatred of Israel become a requirement for endorsement for political office? What have we come to? Where is this going? And DSA and BDS has already made its mark on this city council race for this district. And this is only the first race for city office this year. There are 51 council races, 5 borough president races, and races for controller, public advocate, and mayor to follow. And BDS and DSA and powerful unions and powerful and wealthy people and scores of thousands of people at the grassroots, and many of them Jewish in the mold of Bernie Sanders, who support DSA and the BDS movement. But it's all mainstream. It's all good. Political consultants who see the lay of the land will encourage their candidates to fill out the DSA questionnaire, to sign this filth, to become part of the new wave of socialist, anti-Semitic warrior that will run the greatest city in the world. And I conclude. But I say no. I say that this is not. I say that this is the kind of rank anti-Semitism that no person of goodwill of any face can be silent in the face of. And each and every time this hatred shows its face, through the hate mongers, through the BDS supporters, through whomever, from wherever, we must call it out for the hatred that it is. Silence is not acceptable. I stand with the Jews, I stand with Israel, I stand against hatred. And although I am a Gentile, I was a proud member of the New York City Council Jewish Caucus for 12 years because I stand in solidarity with the Jewish people here in New York City and in Israel. But I did nothing more than what any person of goodwill would do and should do. The only difference was that I had a platform. So I call upon everyone, on whatever platform you have or sphere of influence you have, which may be only your own children, to call out the hate, to push back, and to say enough is enough. But make no mistake, this is an evil movement that we have seen in one form or another for 5,000 years, and we, as people of goodwill, to our dying breath, will do all we can to counter hatred and attempt to stamp it out. Until the next time, then we will stand against anti-Semitism again and again and again. Thank you very much.
The other council candidate, Saeed.
Good morning. Thank you, Michael. Thank you to the Queens Jewish Council. I stand against hate, violence, anti-Semitism now, tomorrow, anywhere and everywhere. There's no place for anti-Semitism. We must work together. We must have dialogues. We must bring our Jewish brothers and sisters together to work together. For we are all have one thing in common: humanity and the right of every people to exist. The right of the people in Israel to exist and live in peace and harmony. The right of all our Jewish brothers and sisters who are in Queens and everywhere. They should not have to face hate. They should not have to face violence. They should not have to live in fear, and they should not have to every day think about what someone is going to do and say. We need to work together
and we need to stand strong. And I promise you, I'm going to be working with everybody. That's what I've been doing all my life. For 16 years, I have practiced law, and I have worked against hate, violence, and any form of hatred in anywhere. And I promise to do that when I get to City Council. And I promise to have everyone work with me, because my office will have open door policy. And I'm proud to work with David Weprin, Assemblyman David Weprin, Councilman Barry Grodenchik, and others. And I have gotten to know Assemblyman Dan Rosenthal, and I will continue to do so, because this is what makes us better. A city, a nation of love and understanding. And I oppose BDS, and I look forward to my trip to Israel and every other country so we can build unity and love. Thank you so much. And today, Holocaust Remembrance Day. And I think of Anne Frank when I got to read her diary. And it brought tears to my eyes. A child facing the inevitable death. And she had smile and good and happy words for all of us to live with. So I think of her, and I think of millions of people who perished. And the millions, when Barry was saying he didn't even get to meet his grandparents. And that's what we need to think about and remember every time when hatred comes up. Thank you so much.
The last candidate that's in the Queens area is Ari Sipperstein.
Thanks. Thank you, Michael. It's all good. And thank you, Cynthia, for having me here today. My father, Aaron, is named after his great-grandfather, who was a community leader back in Europe, and together with his community was led to the slaughterhouse and brutally murdered by the Nazis just for being a Jew. Killed just for being a Jew. Today, here, in our time, when we see rhetoric on social media and other platforms that spews hate and anti-Semitism, it does nothing but trigger those memories. The memories of the people that we have not been able to meet because they were killed simply because they were born Jewish. And it is our obligation to stand up adamantly and vociferously against these messages of hate. As we've heard from many other electeds and other candidates here today, we need to bring our communities together, especially as we recover from this pandemic. We need to end the hate now. We need to do everything we can to bring everyone together. And that is what I intend to do when elected to City Council, to work together with our communities, our electeds, and our government to bring everyone together. End the hate.
As we conclude, I want to acknowledge Rabbi Lerner and Rabbi Steinig, who are here as well. So we are going to throw down the gauntlet ourselves, and those that may know me and those that don't, this is something that I am going to be focused on for this year. I know. This is not something just to have a press conference and walk away. This is something that I've drawn the line in the sand. And those candidates that accept the district, if you accept the DSA pledge not to go to Israel and to support the BDS movement, you've earned my wrath. Trust me, I've been in this community my whole life. I've been in a lot of this activity of government for over 50 years. I will not let you go to propose something that is anti-Israel, anti-Jewish, and I think anti-human. To tell the people that get my support only if you do the following. That's my pledge, personally. Queens Jewish Community Council does a great deal of things in this community and services everybody, regardless of their faith, their activities, and where they came from. We believe that we're all under God's umbrella and we need to serve God and the people of this community. And I've lived in this community. I lived for 25 years a couple of blocks away. And I've seen Queens change. And as someone that's been in government and been involved in media, I am grateful for the diversity of who is getting involved in politics. There are over 400 candidates for offices in New York City this year. That's a great change. All we're asking is a sense of decency and honesty when you represent the people of your district, not just one segment of your district. Thank you very much.